Hey, I'm not too familiar with this individual, Neil Tyson, and some of you out there, I'm sure, are more familiar with him than I am. So I'm going to show you a talk that he did about water towers.
So when you talk about water towers,
Yes.
you have to be specific. Because if you live in New York City,
Right,
water tower means only one thing, and that's the vessel that holds water on the top of your building. But most people, I think, when they hear water tower, they think of the water tower that's in the center of their town.
That's true.
And if you came at the right time in twilight and you're not quite fully there, it looks like they all almost look like they landed from Mars.
Right.
Aliens coming down. In fact, during the broadcast of War of the Worlds, there are people thinking it's real, and they were described as having these, and so people were shooting water towers.
Shooting water towers.
Yeah, thinking that.
People shooting water towers. Hey, I just did a video on that one. Maybe his reference to H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, and then Orson Welles broadcasting it in 1938, Halloween, is all about saying there is another purpose to these things other than what we have told you. Okay? Remember, in the Kabbalah system, they have to tell the public. They have to tell the public. Now, they always tell the public in some roundabout way, some nonsensical way. They tell it through humor. They tell it in gestures. Anything but directly, honestly, openly tell the public. So maybe what he just said is indication that indeed these things are not about holding water.
That was what was being described. Anyhow, so
It's kind of cool, actually.
water towers are interesting because it gives you water pressure without electricity, provided it's full of water.
Right.
All right, but how do you get the water up there? You got to pump it.
You don't really need electricity in a water line. So if the power goes out and you live in a small town or city or somewhere other than the country and you're not relying on your own well, you don't need to have electricity. It is done by the actual pressure that is in the system. So he made a false statement. You can test it out the next time the power goes off. You can go ahead and turn on your water tap. You'll be just fine.
Water doesn't get there by itself.
Okay, now.
How are you going to get water up to the top of your roof? You got to pump it. That takes electricity. So here's what happens. You pump the water up to the tower. Now there's a blackout. You still have water until that tank empties.
Right.
Then you don't have water.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Power goes out, they still have water. I don't care. And as if this little itty bitty tiny thing on top of the rooftops in New York City somehow supplies water for the people in that building? Come on. What? How dumb can we all be? And yet we are. We sit around and watch these kinds of stupid talk shows.
Because you have gravity. As long as you have gravity.
As long as you have, gravity to pull water from the tower. Then you have it.
Right.
So.
He brought up gravity. Gravity is nonsense too.
Basically, if electricity goes out, quickly fill up everything with water. And then it'll be gone, and then you don't have to be stank, the next day.
So now here's the interesting.
Now that was true for me when I lived in homes where you had to count on the pump to pump it directly out of the well into your home. But it is not true if you live in a small town or a city or a suburb, because the lines are pressurized and the water's coming even if the power's out.
question. If you got to pump the water up to the tower,
Right.
why not just pump the water straight to the people's apartments in the building?
Oh, because they might not need it in that moment. Plus,
So one stupid thing after the other.
you want enough water at any given instant to accommodate
To everybody.
If everybody wants to take a shower, they can do it.
Right, because all the water is right in this
Right
one
in that
tank.
one thing. But it's
Hey, you really think what they're telling you is true? Come on. Even though they have some stupid little diagram in front of you, this thing up here has some nefarious purpose. It's not about water at all. Zero. And how many hundreds of people do you think are in these large skyscraper tower apartment buildings? And you think a little itty bitty thing like that's going to supply water?
therefore everybody would have to have a pump. And what's the point of that?
Right.
Right. So it has that efficiency. Okay.
See, I like water towers even more
Now
now.
here's another thing. Have you ever noticed the buckles that go around the water tower that holds them
they're
together?
like little metal rods.
The metal
that go
rods.
all the way around.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed those?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever thought about them?
Not really.
Let's split the water tower into 3 levels.
Okay.
Top, middle, and bottom.
Okay, that would be a good 3.
So you can ask, what is the weight of the water of that top third? It's whatever it is.
Right.
Okay? Call it 500 pounds.
500
Okay?
pounds.
So now I put a little buckle around that.
Right.
Okay? Right at that spot. Let me go to the bottom of that. Now what is the weight of water at that point? Well, it's the top part.
500 plus 500.
It's 1,000
1,000
pounds.
pounds.
Well, if
Plus
one,
the 500 at the
I
bottom.
didn't get
Pushing
there
up.
yet. I didn't get there yet.
Sorry.
So if one of these hoops is the right strength to hold 500 pounds,
Right.
then that one I need more than one hoop to hold it down here.
Yeah.
I need 2.
Right.
If one can hold 500, that 2 will hold the 1,000. Now I'm at the bottom. I have 500 by 500. I got 1,500 pounds pressing down at the bottom.
Right.
I need 3 of those hoops.
Gotcha.
Okay? Go look at the water towers on the tops of buildings.
Okay, so those metal bands may actually be used for receiving radio signals, transmitting radio signals, or whatever. Electrical, magnetical waves sent into the atmosphere for weather modification, perhaps. Anything but what they're telling you. Incidentally, take a look at his hand over here. There you have it. Okay? There's your chair. Sit and learn from these wonderful professors.
The hoops get closer
Closer and closer as you get to the bottom.
As you get to the bottom. Just because of this fact. The water gets heavy.
Nice. That is more than you ever wanted to know about.
I know it is. It is so too.
And it's so cool as far as I'm concerned.
If they're equally spaced, the person didn't know what they were doing, and you should not move into that building. Because the base of the water tower would not be as structurally sound as the upper portions. And that's, that.
So here's the moral of the story. If you're on an apartment building, go up to the roof and count the hoops in the water towers to be sure you're safe.
Where the stuff goes bad.
You better have flood insurance if that happens. Wow, that is so cool.
Water towers, a little bit of physics,
little bit of physics,
a little bit of electricity.
It's all happening.
Oh, one last thing.
Oh, cool.
If a building is in Manhattan is lower than about 6 stories, doesn't need a water tower.
All right. Because, wait, let me guess. Because you can get the water to every apartment just through the regular pressure of a pump?
Yes. No, it's not a pump.
Not a pump.
It's the height of the reservoir that's feeding Manhattan has that elevation above Manhattan.
Gotcha.
So the water
pressure
falls,
is already there.
The water falls from the reservoir into your faucet over that height. And you know something? The ancient Romans knew that. The
Aqueducts were built on that.
aqueduct.
Well, there is some truth to the fact about the natural systems. However, they just simply add the pressurized air. That's what causes the system to allow you to turn on your spigot. They pressurize it with air, and then once the pressure's in it, it's in it. Unless, of course, there's something busts and you have to get a new pipe.
Pieces of which are still standing, was a channel that fed a lake or whatever was their water supply, which is at a higher elevation than Rome. And they scoop up that water and the water just goes down all by itself. No pump necessary.
Boy, they don't build those aqueducts like they used to.
I don't say it's still standing.
Yep.
We got stuff here falling down that built 10 years ago, and that's up for 2,000 years.
God. Hey.
It just meant the mayor of Rome spent too much money building it.
The mayor of Rome, he means the Pope in Rome. The Vatican, the Vaticanus, which is witchcraft. It's a reference to witchcraft, people, and he talked about channel. He's channeling spirits. He's giving you a bunch of nonsense and hoping you'll buy it.
If your structures outlive your civilization by 2,000 years, you overbuilt.
Probably overbuilt. That's very funny. All right, there you go. Who knew there was so much to learn about water towers? So next time I wash my hands, I'm going to remember how far that water had to travel into my building. Yes, right. By the way, I never wash my hands. Okay, if you're interested in learning more about hydrostatic pressure, why our everyday appliances are constructed in certain ways, or how we use gravity to our advantage every single day, you should check out Brilliant. Whether you're into superpowers or, well, of course, that's superpowers, or a lifelong learner, or just somebody who is naturally curious.
Or if you're weirdly into water towers like he is.
Brilliant.
Weirdly into water towers. Hey, maybe that's what you can call me. Hey, you know what's interesting is that there really was almost nothing on YouTube. And I started on all this topic. And now there's lots of stuff you can find on water towers. So I'm not sure. I may have caused the algorithms to beef up. I may have caused the controllers to try to control the population more. I don't know. But anyhow, water towers, that's where it's at, you know. How about you go ahead and start thinking about them and filming them and talking about them?
I'll help you master concepts in math, science, and engineering through solving fun, challenging problems. I'm looking through the outside-the-box geometry course. These beautiful geometry problems have such amazing solutions that I want to read the solutions even if I got it correct. It's so much fun, I don't even realize that I'm...
There's your solution. There's your solution. Take a look at it. The star. The pentagram used in, guess what? Witchcraft. That's right. Witchcraft. Hey, I'd like to thank you for watching. If you weren't out there watching, I wouldn't be making. So thank you so much, and please investigate your local water tower if you have one. Thank you.